Hi, I'm Ian Taylor from Ian Taylor Trekking, and today I'm going to talk to you about what I would bring in an Aconcagua expedition. So we run a number of trips to Aconcagua every year. Our preferred route is on the Vacas Valley route with more acclimatization. It's more scenic, it's more interesting, and in my opinion, it's the best way to climb Aconcagua, through the Vacas Valley, up to Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, summit from that side, and then exit on the normal route. Less people, as I said, and to me, just the scenery is really interesting to do the traverse. So if you want more information about our itinerary, our service, get on our website. It's iantaylortrekking.com, or just drop us an email, info@iantaylortrekking.com, and we'd love to talk to you. So this is what I will bring on an Aconcagua trip, and there's so many things to think about, because you're obviously trekking in, and then you're moving higher on the mountain. And you have to decide what you're going to bring higher on the mountain. If you're carrying all your gear, you have to be really have to streamline your gear, make sure it's as light as possible. If you're hiring a porter that's going to carry your gear up, then it's a different situation. But we can kind of go through both, and I'll encompass all of the different gear that I have for the trip. So on the trek in, we arrive into Mendoza, where you're picked up at the airport. We are there for the day. We do a full gear check in the hotel, and then the next day our staff take care of all the permits. All of that stuff is done, and then we drive up into the mountains and we spend the night, and we do like maybe a light hike before dinner, and then the next day we have the kind of 3 nights trekking into base camp. So for that portion, I'm going to bring my tried and trusted Deuter. This is a 50 liter plus 10. 45, you don't need this big of a backpack. 35 liters is fine. You have to fit all your main gear, water, rain gear, layers, sun cream, camera, etc. But I like to have this backpack, just I can keep spare things on the side, I can hang things off. It has a fantastic back support and waist support. And if I need to carry extra gear or any equipment, fine. If I don't, it packs into nothing. So this is my favorite backpack, and I use it for anything over 2 weeks out in the mountains. So, and all this is all listed in our trip dossier. It's like 40 pages, and we have itemized kit list, all of this broken down so you see exactly what we will bring. But this is my backpack, and then I have other, toiletries and other items and snacks and things that I'll put in here. When I move higher on the mountain, I obviously have a bigger backpack. I have an 80 liter backpack. And this has to be able to fit all of my gear. So I'll put a plastic bag in, and I'll start putting all of this gear in here. So it has to be a big expedition backpack. And this needs to be, I'll carry this, good waist support, good back support, and you got to make sure you have all these things working. But an 80 liter backpack is needed for moving higher on the mountain. So the duffel bag that's here, the duffel bag will be carried by mules into base camp, but then when we move higher on the mountain, this bag is used, and then the duffel bag gets moved to the other side of the mountain to the other base camp. So all dirty clothes, all the other items you don't need can be loaded in, that you used on the trek can be loaded into the duffel bag, along with the backpack that you hiked in with, and then you can have it for the hike out on the other side. But then all of this gear, most of it you have to bring higher on the mountain. So trekking at the base camp, if anyone's watched our other videos, La Sportiva, trekking boots, fantastic. There's tons of options. Salomon, Mammoth, tons of trekking boots out there. These are just my favorite, super comfortable, super light, and obviously they have to be waterproof. So I'll have these with me all the way through the trip. I'll have some sort of trail shoes with me, so when I finish hiking every day or whatever I'm doing, I've got something comfortable to kind of slip into in the evening for hanging around camp. So I always have a pair of trail shoes with me. On Aconcagua, we do a river crossing on the day walking into Plaza de Argentina, the base camp on the Vacas Valley side, and we have a river crossing. So I usually bring something like these Crocs. Cross the river, get over the other side, put back on my trekking boots, and then we have a long day trekking into Aconcagua base camp. But you need these river crossing shoes for the Vacas Valley route. You don't need them for the normal route. So I'll have those in, and then obviously those will go into my duffel bag. I won't need those higher on the mountain. Or I could choose those instead of trail shoes. Obviously you're thinking of like the lightest way that you can do this. How can you get equipment up, bringing as little, but you need a lot, so it should be as light as possible. And that's something you need to think about as you go through this process. So above base camp, I'm going to be wearing mountaineering boots. It can be cold at any time, and we go from base camp at 4,200 meters up to almost 5, and then 5.5 and 6, and up to the summit. So I need something that's going to keep my feet warm. Some people use 8,000 meter boots if they're continuing on to maybe do Everest or other bigger peaks. But these boots are great. La Sportiva G207, that's what I use on all of our trips, and I will use these on an Aconcagua trip. That's those boots. So other layers that I'll have in my backpack for hiking and going higher, I will have Gore-Tex rain gear, top and bottom, and I'll probably use these on the summit night, just because it can be super windy, and it can be super windy from the start of the trip all the way through the whole trip. So Gore-Tex absolutely needed for the trip. Some of the other things that you need in terms of the mountaineering side, obviously double mountaineering boots. You're going to have crampons, depending on the time of year, depending on the situation on the mountain. You have to have crampons. Sometimes you don't have to use them in the Canaleta, the higher part of the mountain, but you have to have crampons with you. You do not need an ice axe, but you do need to have a helmet. Even going from base camp to camp 1, there's rockfall. Going through the Canaleta, high in the mountain, you always want to have a helmet with you. So we will tell you when to wear these and when to bring them, but you do need to have one with you. So that's that. For trekking in, even higher in the mountain, super useful. 1 trekking pole, 2 trekking poles. Just make sure that the ones that do the clip-on ones, not the screw ones. These are so much better. Lightweight, obviously, and have used them and know how to use it. So trekking pole. From there, we're going to be camping all the way through in tents. So we're going to be in a tent, so we got to have a really good thermarest, and it has to be light. So this is like a thermarest Neo Air. Super comfortable, a little bit noisy, but super lightweight, and you definitely need to have one of these, and definitely worth having a repair kit in case you damage it at any point during the trip. And you also need like a foam mattress to go under that, just for extra warmth. So on top of that thermarest, bring a foam mattress. On top of that, this is my sleeping bag for Aconcagua. It's a -20 Marmot Call sleeping bag, fully down. They are expensive, you can rent them, but I pack it up into this so I can fit into my expedition bag to carry higher on the mountain. So I'll have that with me. I'll start now from kind of bottom up. So in my, when we're trekking in to base camp, I have trekking socks, a few pairs of these. When we're in base camp, we have facilities for showers, for washing your clothes. We even have Wi-Fi, we have a chef there, quality food, the whole lot. But so you need kind of the trekking element that will go back out. So I'll have some trekking socks with me. I'll have summit socks, and then a couple of more thicker socks so I can rotate in my mountaineering boots when I'm high in the mountain. And I'll have liner socks just in case. So a mix of those socks, and like I said, all of this is listed in our dossier that we send everyone that's going on one of our trips. So I'll put these in to my duffel bag. It's always good too to have dry bags like this, where you can keep your socks in, your underwear, you're keeping your gear separate, and then labeling it so it's easy to get access to different things when you're in the tent and you're flustered. You know that that's what that is, so it's easy to grab things, and it's good to get into a routine of putting your toiletries, your utensils for eating, and just lining everything up in the tent so you know exactly where everything is. These are super useful, worth having. And also when you're load dropping, so when we move up to Camp 1 and we're leaving gear, these are also good. We have a big dome tent in each of the camps higher in the mountain. So we could leave whatever equipment that we're leaving in camp in one of these, then you know it's yours, easy to get at. So these are super useful, worth having maybe 3 or 4, and just kind of separating out your gear the way you want it. So definitely have some of these. So that's socks into like underwear, definitely having a few pairs of merino underwear for the trek in, and then having a few more for the higher part of the mountain going from high camp. And obviously this is up to you. Some people will want more, some people will want less because they don't want to carry it. And just kind of managing yourself every day getting into camp, cleaning yourself up with baby wipes, switching into your other gear so you're not staying in the same gear for the weeks that you're higher on the mountain above base camp. So merino is best for that, so I'll put those in. Obviously high on the mountain I need to have base layers, so I have a 260 merino base layer. I have that for my bottom. I only bring one of these high on the mountain. I usually bring a pair of shorts for the hike in to base camp, and then I have these for the hike out on the other side of the mountain. I also like to wear these type of trekking pants. So they have trekking pants and then they have the zip-on legs. So I can put the leg, you know, if it's really sunny out on the way in, it can be a real challenge. So covering up from the sun in Aconcagua is super dry, super hot on the way into base camp. At any time, even all the way into, well into February, it can be super warm. So I like to have this set up so I can mix and match from day to day. A lot of people do get burnt on the trail on the way in, and that's kind of the wrong way to start off the trail going in. So some, like I see people getting their hands fried, their heads, their everything. You really have to manage yourself and not to get dehydrated on the way in. So definitely thinking about all those things as you think about this gear is important. I like to have these are a warmer kind of fleece pant, or just a warmer pant but super light. They're actually lighter than my fleece pants, so when I'm higher on the mountain, I'm moving into different gear, I want to have as light as possible. So I have the base layer, I have these, I'll have my trekking pants, I'll have my Gore-Tex, so I'll have plenty of layers with me. But these are used just around camp, hanging out, super, so you got to feel comfortable high on the mountain and while you're in base camp when we're spending 4 nights there when we initially arrive in. So different layers on my upper body. Obviously your core, hands and feet are the most important elements, but I like to have a range of these different tops. I like to have merino 200, 260, sometimes with a hood if I'm sleeping. These are super useful, and I keep one separate just for sleeping, and then I use another one for the summit night, high on the mountain, 260 merino, and then you could decide to have another one. That's up to you, and you'll decide when you start carrying loads high on the mountain. You'll soon find out you don't really want to be carrying that much gear, so you will figure that out. But I always usually have 3 of those, and then I usually have 3 t-shirts for trekking into base camp. Then I have one potentially for maybe the first load carry up to camp 1, and then I have these t-shirts for the trek out on the other side of the mountain. So I usually have 3 of those, all merino wool, no cotton, super important. So put those in. One other layer that you need to think about is having a sun, kind of a long sleeve sun top that keeps you protected from the sun on the trek on the way in. So some people like to have a long sleeve shirt and they can pull up the collar, or something like this, a hood that covers your whole body, covers your arms, covers your hands, but it needs to be super lightweight because it is warm on the way in. So you don't want to get fried, like I said, from the sun. So thinking of a lightweight shirt, this isn't a bad option just for the trek in and out of base camp. So I had merino wool on my upper body. I have, on top of that, I will have a down vest that I'll wear. I'll be able to use something like this, or any sort of fleece layer, long sleeve with a hood, with the merino, the vest, with this jacket, and with the bigger, puffier down jacket. I have options. I got, even base layer with merino. I've got down, I've got another layer, I've got the down jacket, and I have Gore-Tex on top of that. These jackets should be expedition grade. They should be up to an 8,000 meter jacket. The warmer the better. The more down in here, the better. So some people will want to have a bigger jacket. This is the one I use on Aconcagua, and the more down in here, the better. So I have all those layers for my upper body, and I'll pack those away with me. So I'll keep all those. What else do I have? So a few other things to think about. You know, comfort in the tent is obviously important. Good thermarest, good sleeping bag. You could think about having a thermarest pillow, or you can use clothes as a pillow, but you're going to be in the tent for a long time, potentially 18 nights. So you need to have, you know, think about your comfort, but think about lightweight. So I always bring this thermarest pillow. Just that little bit of added comfort is nice to have. So I'll put that in. So feet and hands, obviously really important. On Aconcagua, you definitely want to have big mitts with you. I always have a pair of these. These are Black Diamond guide gloves. I use these on Everest. I've used them on Aconcagua many times. And you have a liner glove that slots inside. So if you do have to take off the glove, you got idiot loops, you can make some adjustments and then quickly get the glove back on. The mitts are useful on Aconcagua because you're not handling any technical equipment. So big kind of 8,000 meter mitts, just to keep your hands as warm as possible on that summit night. It's super important. I mean, sometimes we've been there, it's minus 30, it can be minus 20, it can be super cold. So gloves, super important, and we have it all listed in our dossier. Other things to consider, you're definitely going to need warm hat and a beanie because you're going to have to fit it under your mountaineering hat. So you have to think about that. You don't want these big bobbins and then the mountaineering hat squashing or the helmet is squashing your head. So definitely having a warmer one of these, and then a light one too. Having a light buff for around your neck on the trek on the way in, really important. Having a polar buff or a balaclava. I prefer this system where I can keep my neck warm, and then this can come up over the back of my head, and then I can put this over my face. Some people like to have a neoprene face mask too for the summer night because it can be bitterly cold. So you've got to think about that, how you're covering your face and how you can manage yourself. But those are what I would use, and I would definitely also have that neoprene face mask just as an option. Hydration on the trek in, 2 liters of water in my camelback. You can bring a thermos. I always bring 2 Nalgene's, have covers for them for high in the mountain, and then it's always good to have a pee bottle or a tray if you're female, and we can talk about how to manage all that. So a few other items. Obviously you need a full medical kit. We give you a list of all you need, all the toiletries that you need for personal use. Some of that can go back, and then you'll bring as little as possible high in the mountain. Good medical adventure kit, and then some other equipment that you need for you personally. You're going to need goggles for high in the mountain and high winds, challenging conditions. Category 4 sunglasses, always good to have 2 pairs. We do have shower access in both base camps when you get a shower, so good to have a towel. You definitely want to have a good head torch, and then before you go high in the mountain, you need to change out your spare glasses. Good to have a toolkit, good to have a battery pack for charging your phone. You can do that in our base camp, in our mess tent, but then when we go high, it's worth having the battery pack. You also need utensils on the trek into base camp, and then high in the mountain you need a spork, a knife, a bowl, and something to drink out of. So all of these things, this is just for my passport and money and everything like that. All of these things you need. It's very hard to compromise on any of it. If you want more information, we'd love to talk to you, love to help you, guide you through what you need for an Aconcagua trip. Get in touch, it's iantaylortrekking.com. Drop me a mail, it's ian@iantaylortrekking.com, and I'd love to talk to you.